February 2023. A French woman found herself entangled in a love story straight out of Hollywood's most seductive scripts. The man was Brad Pitt, one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. Late-night love affairs and intimate selfies were promises of a fairy tale romance. It was everything she had ever dreamed of, until it wasn't. Lies, deception, and a barrage of psychological manipulation. Everything she thought she had turned into an outrageous scam. A web of fake characters, agents, friends, even a so-called daughter, all playing their part in a meticulously crafted falsehood. A deepfake Brad Pitt pleading for secrecy, luxury gifts that never arrived, and then financial loss that almost ruined her life. This is the untold truth of the Brad Pitt scam and how someone made hundreds of thousands of dollars out of nothing but lies. In 2023, Anne, a French interior designer, decided to step into the world of social media for the first time. It was supposed to be harmless fun, a way to connect, to explore. But within days of joining Instagram, she was pulled into a harsh world of deception. It all began on a winter evening in the French Alps. Anne was on a ski trip with her family when she received a message from an unexpected source who happened to be Brad Pitt's mother. Or so she thought. The stranger wrote, "My son needs a woman like you." A bizarre message, yes, but also intriguing. Why would Brad Pitt's mother contact her? Was this a prank, or was it destiny knocking at her door? Anne was no Hollywood fangirl. She had lived a grounded life, far from the glitz and glamour of celebrity culture. But this wasn't just any man. This was Brad Pitt, a world-famous actor, a name that carried dreams. And the more she spoke with this so-called mother, the more the fantasy felt real. Within weeks, new characters entered the scene. Agents, friends, even his daughter. One by one, they reached out, via email, through social media, each adding more depth to the illusion. Their words were perfectly coordinated and their stories aligned. And then, finally, he appeared. Brad Pitt himself. Or rather, what appeared to be him. At first, there were no demands for money. No desperate pleas, no red flags. This was the long con, an emotional heist, a psychological masterpiece. He showered her with love poems, sent nightly texts, even shared selfies, AI-generated images so realistic they were indistinguishable from the real Brad Pitt. Anne was falling, not just for him, but for the dream. A Hollywood love story crafted by ghosts, scammers who knew exactly how to manipulate the heart. But over time, things became suspicious. Despite the messages, the emails, the endless affection, she had never heard his voice, never seen his face on a live video call. Every time she asked, there was an excuse, a filming schedule, a bad connection, a promise of soon. And that's when the doubts came in. Who was she really speaking to? And if this wasn't Brad Pitt, then who were they? Anne had doubts. The perfect Hollywood romance was slipping through her fingers. And that's when they played their final, most dangerous card. One night, she received a message. This time, it was different. A video. Brad Pitt was speaking to her. She watched in shock as his lips moved and his unmistakable Hollywood voice whispered her name. And even though she thought it was him, it turned out to be an AI-generated deepfake in reality. A perfectly crafted illusion designed to wipe away any doubt. Every time she hesitated, he had an answer. Every time she questioned reality, he pulled her back in. The manipulation was flawless, a terrifying mix of technology and psychological warfare. And then, the final act began. The scammers had perfected words, videos, even handwritten notes, but the technology wasn't quite advanced enough to allow for live video conversations, at least not yet. But it didn't matter. By this point, she was already trapped. But this is how it all begins. Every day, thousands of people across the world fall victim to this. Fake celebrities, fake lovers, fake identities, created and controlled by criminal networks who have transformed AI into the ultimate weapon. And if AI can already fool us now, what happens when the technology becomes even more advanced? What deepfakes are no longer distinguishable from reality? The world is changing. The age of deception is here. And the worst part? No one is safe. After some months, the illusion was nearly complete. Anne had been carefully groomed, her emotions manipulated as she kept falling for the scam. The fake Brad Pitt, a digital ghost constructed by criminals who knew exactly how to exploit human weakness. And now, it was time for the first real test, a small, seemingly reasonable request for money. A few days after they claimed to have shipped her extravagant gifts, luxury handbags, designer jewelry, love letters sealed with his name, she received an urgent email. French customs was holding the package. To claim it, she had to pay a €5,000 import tax, a minor inconvenience at least. This art of long con is one of the oldest scams in the book. Promise a fortune, then demand a small processing fee to release it. Except there was no fortune, no gifts, just a carefully planted lie. And she fell for it, not once, but multiple times. Every request was small enough to seem believable, yet big enough to bleed her dry, little by little. And then came the masterstroke, the moment where the scam turned from financial fraud to emotional extortion. One evening, she received a devastating message. Brad Pitt was gravely ill with urinary cancer, a life-threatening condition. The only thing that could save him was a kidney transplant. But there was a problem. His bank accounts had been frozen because of his messy, high-profile divorce with Angelina Jolie. This means Hollywood's golden boy was powerless and trapped in a legal nightmare, and only she could help him. At first, it sounded ridiculous. Why would a millionaire celebrity need money from her? She was wealthy, yes, married to a successful entrepreneur, but nothing compared to Brad Pitt's fortune. But the scammers had already anticipated this doubt. They had spent months building a personalized lie just for her. They convinced her that Hollywood was not what it seemed, that stars were mere puppets controlled by the studios, that their money was locked behind layers of corporate contracts, that Brad Pitt, one of the world's biggest stars, was broke, abandoned, and alone. And she believed it. But why was she falling for this in the first place? This is actually because in her real life, she was alone. She was separated from her husband, going through a painful divorce of her own. A woman who had lived among wealth and success, but had been emotionally starved of affection for years, and the fake Brad Pitt knew exactly how to fill that void. He studied her, knew what she needed to hear. He gave her what her real husband never did: attention, devotion, the fantasy of being truly seen. By the time the scam escalated, it wasn't just about money anymore. It was about saving him. Meanwhile, Anne's real husband barely noticed her. He was too busy, too distant, too uninterested. On the other hand, Brad was her soulmate, that he had never met a woman like her, so if she didn't help him, he wouldn't make it. The fraudsters knew exactly what they were doing. To make the lie even more convincing, they introduced a new chapter, a fake doctor. Emails flooded in from a supposed physician from a Los Angeles hospital. The urgency was overwhelming at this point. Then it was followed with the hospital bills and the deepfake photos. In the picture, Brad Pitt appeared frail and weak, lying in a hospital bed with tubes attached to his arms. His face was pale and his eyes were pleading. It was absurd, and it should have been obvious. The doctor's emails alone were a blatant violation of medical privacy laws. After all, she wasn't even Brad Pitt's wife. But none of that mattered. By now, she was too far gone. And so, she began wiring money. At first, small amounts. Then she increased the money bit by bit until she transferred everything she had. By the time she was done, Anne had lost over $850,000, money that would never be recovered. Enough to let the scammers live like actual royalty in Nigeria, driving luxury cars, staying in 5-star hotels, spending her fortune without remorse, and living their dream life. But the scam wasn't over. They weren't done with her yet. Not even close. Usually, once a victim is given away that much money, scammers know they will do everything and anything to avoid admitting the truth. And so, the con evolved. Finally, Anne had already given everything: her trust, her savings, her heart. But then, reality punched through the fantasy. One night, while scrolling through social media, she saw videos of the real Brad Pitt. Not in a hospital, not dying of cancer, but smiling, laughing, holding hands with another woman. Her stomach dropped. Something was wrong. While she was pained, she decided to confront her Brad, the man who had whispered to her every night, the one who had promised her forever. But this time, there was silence for a while, and then an answer. A new video arrived in her inbox. It was Brad Pitt apologizing and explaining. But something was off. His movements were stiff. The voice sounded robotic, and the clip was unnatural, almost comedic. This doesn't seem like the real Brad Pitt. This was a lie. For the first time in months, Anne questioned all that had happened, and the scammers knew they were losing her. But instead of admitting defeat, they decided to re-strategize and change the story. If they couldn't keep her trapped in the fantasy, they would sell her the escape. Suddenly, a new character entered the story. An FBI agent named John Smith came with the promise of helping her catch an international scam ring and gave her his word to help her with the stolen money. Since it sounded like a case of national security, Anne wanted to believe it. But this promise came with the price: 5,000 euros release fee in Bitcoin as a final request to help process the refund. Just like that, she was scammed again. This wasn't just a romance scam anymore. This was a multi-layered psychological operation. At this point, the attackers didn't just create a fake Brad Pitt. They created a narrative specifically to exploit her vulnerabilities. She had confided in them about her failing marriage, so they made Brad the devoted lover she never had. She told them about her battle with cancer, so they made him sick, ensuring she would feel obligated to help. She also expressed her fears of loneliness, so they made Brad her protector, her soulmate, her only escape from a life of isolation. Everything she shared was eventually used against her. However, Anne's story is just one among thousands. In 2023, Meta deleted 63,000 Instagram accounts linked to sextortion scams in West Africa. That same year, 2 Nigerian brothers were sentenced to 210 months in prison for extorting over 100 victims, including minors. Moreover, many cybersecurity experts sent warnings that deepfake scams are evolving faster than cybersecurity can keep up. Today, AI-generated voices and deepfake videos still have flaws. Tomorrow, they won't. What happens when AI can make realistic phone calls, when live video deepfakes become indistinguishable from reality? What happens when a scammer looks you in the eye, speaks to you in real time, and begs for your help, while being nothing more than an illusion? The whole situation happened to be a hoax, and for Anne, it was like waking up from a coma. The man she had given her heart, her trust, and her fortune to had never existed. Immediately, she made her situation known to the public. Brad Pitt's team wasted no time. A spokesperson quickly condemned the scam, distancing the actor from the controversy. For him, this was just another bizarre internet hoax. For Anne, it was something far worse. People mocked her across social media, laughing at how easily she had been fooled. In a matter of days, she wasn't just a victim of fraud, she was a global embarrassment. And the bullying didn't stop. The attacks were increasing. This woman was in her 50s, new to Instagram, and emotionally vulnerable. She was exactly the kind of person these scammers look for. And the worst part? She is far from the only one. After all that had happened, Anne refused to become a victim of ruthless online fraud schemes. Desperate for justice, she has turned to an unlikely ally, Marwan Ouarab, the unknown founder of FindMyScammer.com. His mission was to track down the masterminds behind some of the most elaborate internet scams of our time. According to a shocking expose, the culprits have been traced to be hiding in the cyber underbelly of Nigeria. But Nigeria's anti-corruption agency won't take action unless an official petition is filed. Until then, the fraudsters roam free, exploiting the loopholes of bureaucracy while their victims are left in financial ruin. But this is no isolated case. This is part of a global plague of cyber deception, a network of digital criminals known as the Yahoo Boys. Nigeria has long struggled with its reputation as a breeding ground for online scams. From fake romance schemes to fraudulent investment opportunities, these cybercriminals operate with an alarming level of sophistication, evading justice at every turn. For decades, fraudsters have preyed on human emotions, manipulating trust, exploiting loneliness, and luring victims into financial and emotional ruin. First, it was the infamous Nigerian prince email scam. Then came romance scams and sextortion rings, deceiving thousands worldwide. But a new weapon has entered the fraudsters' arsenal: artificial intelligence. With deepfake technology and AI-generated personas, the game has changed. Scammers can now create hyper-realistic fake identities, forge voices, and manipulate videos with terrifying precision. The internet is no longer a battlefield between real people. It's become an illusion, where reality itself can be faked. In 2023, the true scale of this digital epidemic was exposed. The parent company of Instagram and Facebook made a shocking move. It deleted 63,000 Instagram accounts linked to sextortion scams originating from West Africa. The perpetrators were the infamous Yahoo Boys, Nigeria's network of cybercriminals who have mastered the art of deception. But the crackdown came too late for some. Foreign cybercrime syndicates have taken notice of Nigeria's weak cybersecurity laws and lack of strict enforcement. They are now setting up operations within the country, transforming it into a global hub for digital extortion, financial fraud, and AI-powered scams. This is no longer just about stolen money. This is cyber warfare, a crisis of identity, trust, and security. With AI and deepfake technology in the wrong hands, no one is safe. The question is, how do you fight an enemy that no longer needs to exist to deceive you?